to
Wow.
create years of healing.
Blah, y'all already know what it is. Your boy Yaakov, what it do? The outlet to reality, the holdest podcast in Vegas and Chicago. What up? This is the place where you want to hide from your drama or maybe hide from your baby mama. Aha, just kidding. Y si tú quieres cambiar tu vida, if you want to change your life, then subscribe. Ching. And by the way, guys, I just published a book called Shabbat in Chicago. It's about an audacious single mom who opens her heart and home to 5 adopted kids while embracing her Latino culture while being Jewish. And today we have a very special guest. She is one of the biggest authors in Chicago. Give it up for the one and only Michelle. Woo!
Hello, good evening, or good evening. I'm actually located in Cicero, so right near Chicago, but it's evening over here.
Right. So look, I'm really happy you're here. You know, it's an honor. And I want to tell the fans a little bit how we met. Um, so on Saturday, we met at this restaurant called Capone Pizzeria. And it was so nice, you know. Michelle was sitting like right in the entrance. And I had two options. I could sit with Michelle or sit with the other authors. And Dolly was like in the middle. So I was like, I gotta see where I can, people can hear me. So I sat next to Michelle, very nice person, and I met the other Michelle, and we hit it off
Right
really
in
well.
front.
Yeah, right in front, and it was so nice. We got to share stories, got to sign each other's books, and it was a beautiful moment. We got to eat really well, nice and fancy, and it was time for us to go. And Michelle was so nice enough, right? I was about to call Uber, and I was like, I'm on my way, about to leave. And Michelle, she's like, "Look, you live in Cicero. I know you live in the opposite from me, but you're still, I can help you out." I said, "If you can, Michelle's okay. Even if it's by the gas station, that's okay too." And you're like, "No, it's okay. We're here to help each other." So we're driving, and I get to learn a lot about Michelle, like, more deeper, right? And learn like her story, that she's about to do a book event at Dominican University. So that was huge, and you shared a lot of good wisdom that I needed to hear. And it was a beautiful experience, very positive, uplifting. And I was like, man, that's amazing. You're doing a lot of stuff too, being a wife, being not only that, a mother to your kids. You have a lot right now, but you're striving strong. You're pushing it. So that was my first impression when I met Michelle. What about you?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like you said, we connected over at the restaurants with Dolly and the rest of the publishers. It was so funny because, yeah, when you said, "Oh, in Cicero," and for me, I'm like, "Oh yeah, Cicero, right?" And then you're like, "Wait, the other, like the street, Cicero." So it was it was just really interesting, right? And I also thought it was really exciting to learn all the different things you have going on. And I'm like, "Oh, this guy's kind of cool." I'm like, "He's gonna be in my friend list now." But yeah, it has been great to connect with you thus far, and I hope we continue embarking on this author journey together. Right? There's few of us, I think, in the field, but also just men in specific. I feel like so it's really great to be connected.
Thank you, and please, if you could share too, so our fans get to know you a little bit more. Tell us a little bit about your background. Where were you born and raised, and like any childhood memories you could remember growing up?
Okay, perfect. So I was actually born in LA, California. We did move to Chicago when I was, I think, just about 3 years old. So unfortunately, I don't remember much about LA. I do want to go at some point. That's going to be like my first time there. I lived in Chicago for a couple of years, and then at 10, we moved to Cicero. So I had been in Cicero ever since, continue to reside here with my husband, my children, and I don't have plans of moving. So, my sister's still a couple blocks away. My mom was in Cicero but she just moved to Berwyn, which is like the sister community over. But my mom is actually from San Salvador, and my dad is from Mexico. So I have a little bit of the best of both worlds.
Whoa, that's pretty cool. I did not know that part. Yeah, yeah. You shot
Yeah.
me with that one. Oh man. And tell us too, like, I've been reading your book. I'm not gonna lie, I'm almost done with it. I'm like halfway done. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I love that it's like a journal, right? Every page, every chapter. And like I don't know what to expect. It gets tense sometimes when I'm reading it. And like you could tell when I was reading it, one of the parts that really stood out, um, you were saying how, we were crazy in love and then you stop caring. Like it was like you could see the shift, right? It was real strong in the beginning, and then you could tell he became toxic, right? And it was just so like I could relate to it because I've dated someone that was toxic, so I read it like I was going through it too. Like I felt like I was
Right.
there with you.
Triggers.
Yeah, yeah. And so it was definitely that part was very powerful, and how people don't understand when you're in a toxic relationship. um they know how to manipulate, and they know how to. It's weird because they'll uplift you but at the same time degrade you, or like disrespect you, put you
Right.
down. And it's just crazy how we're kind of stuck because we build so much rapport, history. We don't want to leave. We're already comfortable, if that makes sense. But um
Right.
please tell me if you could share too, because you're the scholar
No,
here.
no, no. I think everything is spot on. Here she is. This is actually my first copy of the book. And I wrote it to. Well, I you know how I signed them off, right? I signed it off to myself. So it's my first COVID baby, actually. Yeah. So like you said, the book is like reflection entries, like a journal, right? It was actually a reflection entry. As you've seen in the book, it started in 2018. Actually, there were a couple of entries prior to what is on the book or in the book. However, I so rapport, you mentioned that. And when we think about domestic violence, we always think, generally speaking, of the physical aspect of it, which is easy to see, right? Because you have bruises, you cover up, things like that. For me, it was more of mental, emotional, and financial. So things that are not evident or they're not visual, you can't really see them, right? They're internal, so they're easier to hide. But with the book, what I started to do was really just write down my thoughts. And I always say, this wasn't meant to be a book. This wasn't meant to be out at all in the world. I feel like the universe works in mysterious ways. And so these are very much reflections for me. So if we talk about like vulnerability, this is it, right? If you notice on the tab, there's different dates, and like you said, it's kind of all over the place. So maybe one day is really positive, and the other day it goes downhill. Um, which I did it on purpose, and I was very intentional of the dates, of keeping the dates, because I'm writing this real time, right? So it really shows the how mental health fluctuates, how life is. It's not linear. The process to healing and to liberarte isn't like here's the start, here's the middle, here's the end. It's just all over the place. And so that's what my writing journey has been, and that's how this book really came to be. So that's really like in a summary of the book, or
Wow.
what people can expect, right?
Yeah. No, it's deep. It's very. I gotta be honest. I'm so engaged to it. Like I'm always looking my break. During lunch, I'm reading it. I'm like, man, this is. I can't wait for the next chapter. And I love this. There's even a part where you use like you're good. feel good, and you talk about what podcasts you recommend to listen to, meditate, and you're like, some people might judge me and think I'm doing brujeria, but this ain't brujeria. You know, you remember
Right.
there's a part
Yeah.
of there, and I was like, yo, I love that you incorporate Spanish in there, and
Hmm.
like it feels like I'm at home. Like even the part that really stood out was when you went to Mexico to visit your family. That was like your way to escape, for a little bit of your reality.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about that chapter?
Yeah, so I think when you're so stuck in like the thick of everything, it's really hard to think critically about what's your next step. And so for me, having writing in general was, it really gave me the that ability to like step back and edit and delete and move things around, which allowed me to think critically of what to do next, right? I think my trip to Mexico was really, like you said, a chance to get away, to get that mental break, to come back refreshed and really figure out what's next. um, so yeah, it was very much an escape, an opportunity that presented itself, and I'm like, you know what, we're gonna roll with it.
Wow.
Oh, and you did mention the Spanglish. That's been a journey in itself. I I hope we have engaged a little bit, you and I now, right? And so I hope that my goal for readers, or my hope, is that when people are reading it, they really picture me speaking to them. It's supposed to be an intimate connection. It's supposed to be, it's personal, obviously. And I think that's the only way to really make connections with each other. Whether or not we know each other, really, the book is in the library at my in Cicero, and a couple of other different ones. So I may not know the readers that are checking it out, but that's okay, because we still have a way to connect and to influence each other in heading the right way. The right being whatever right is for everyone. It is self-defined, but as long as we're all heading a way, right?
No, it's true. It's true. And you know what? I gotta be honest, you went through a lot of challenges, and I feel like, the story you told me a little bit how you met your husband. I thought that was a wild, and how man, we gotta give our women credit, because without them being our backbone, being our number one, we can't accomplish, a lot of things. I think that I always consider a couple or a marriage a movement. I don't like thinking of it
Right.
like an empire. It's more of a movement, because you guys move together as
Right.
unison. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes, I definitely agree. I think it's been a great partnership. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what it is. Like, I have my expertise on community resources, right? He has his expertise with other things that I just don't know about. He's definitely my math person. Numbers are not my forte. But yeah, no, I think what I always say is, we are a great addition to each other's lives, right? We both have had similar experiences with previous partners. So really, I think we both reconnected at the right time when we were ready for each other. So far so good, and we have a baby later, and I think we're on the right path.
Wow, no, that's beautiful. I love that. And if you could share too, how did you meet Dolly?
I met Dolly through a friend. And like had connected with that friend through the community work I do. I was the lead case manager for a state program, um, providing crisis response and just overall case management to the families in the area. And so my friend would come in, and she would do community workshops on mental health and the importance of mental health, and obtaining the supports needed. And then we connected. I love connecting on mental health. I think we both had that foundation. we stayed friends, and then she's the one that connected me to Dolly. And I was very, very hesitant because, like I said before, this book was for me, or the entries, the reflections were mine. I wasn't planning on sharing them with the world. I had a little idea, honestly, like the just a tiny, tiny, very little idea, um, of what if, right? What if it publishes? Why not? Um, but really, when I was talking to my friend, I'm like, I don't know, thank you for giving me this Dolly's information, but I don't know if I want to reach out just yet. And she's like, but Michelle, why did you write? Who did you write for? Right. And so really just connecting with my friend, that empowerment of each other, right? She's like, you know what? It just made me really think about it. I remember being in my car and trying to figure out, do I email Dali or not, right? Yeah, but just through my friend, and we've been friends still, right? And I think it's just, how do you build your support system? How do you expand your network with people that are like you?
Wow. No, I love that. I love that because Dolly is an amazing person. For
Mm-hmm.
those who don't know, Dolly helped us publish our first book, and
Yes,
she's amazing, very kind, very. I love that she's straightforward. I need someone that's
right.
real. I can't have somebody go
Mm-hmm.
around the bush and make me feel better, but is not telling me the truth, right? The honest truth.
Exactly.
And she's been there for me too. When I was struggling at some parts writing the book, and um, you know, I think everyone needs that person, right? Whether it's writing, whether it's to get into music, you got to find that one person that helps you and guides you to get to that part where you're ready to share the world your story. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, no, Dolly has definitely been great, and it's good. I remember I even made it to the dinner because I was like stressing one day a couple of weeks before, and I was like, Dolly, I need you to like check me, please, like put me on the right path again. I think like shifting back to working post baby, right now integrating a third schedule into my life, um, was really being a mom is a whole identity in itself. Being a working mom, and then being a working mom that has side hustles is a whole other thing. So I really just like, I Facebooked her at, like, I don't know, it was like past midnight, I think. And I'm like, I can pick your brain later at reasonable times, but I just had to get it, like had to reconnect with her. And yeah, we scheduled a time, and then that's when she mentioned the dinner, and I'm like, yes, let's just go with it. Let's, I think us reaching our goals and the things that we put our minds to, it's not just about writing them and getting them done, but it's really a lifestyle, right? Um, so like being a lifestyle, like being surrounded by the energies that you wanna have in your life. And so like, even for example, right now my coffee mug, right? It says on the inside, it says, live the life you always imagined. And I was like, what were the odds? I chose this mug. I haven't used it in like a couple of weeks. I feel like I have so many mugs. But the fact that I chose this mug today for us to have this conversation, right? So again, the universe working in its own ways.
Wow, that's so deep. That's so deep. I love that. I love that. Can you share, one of my last questions to
Hmm.
ask you? I want you to talk about your experience speaking at Dominican University, and how what things you shared in that book event, and how it went.
Yeah. Yeah, so the book event was great. It was my second time at Dominican. It has been my dream school since I was an undergrad. Um, a funny story, I was actually accepted there for my 4 years, but being a first gen student, I didn't know how to commute there. And honestly, and I didn't know anyone that was currently there or anything, so it was just like a cold call, right? So I loved my experience at DePaul. That's where I did my bachelor's. But I did lean that way because I was more connected that way. I had friends and students that were there, and I just knew it would be a smoother process. So I love Dominican off the bat, but the event itself went great. It was at first it was a very interesting balance of attendees. At first, it was mostly students, and then towards the end, the second half of the session, it was faculty, staff, and a couple of students too. Um, we talked about how the book came to be, the importance of mental health, the importance of resources, right, and connecting and reaching out for additional support when you need it, the cultural aspect, which is foundational to our experience. I share something. I don't know if you've gotten to that part in the book yet, so sneak peek for the rest of everyone. But at some point, I did see a psychiatrist. And just even I put off 3 referrals, or I think I ignored 2 referrals. I just let them fall through. And the third one was the one where I was like, you know what? This is something I need. And I knew I needed to get on meds for a little bit to just become regulated again. Um, so again, sharing that journey with other people just to validate, right? To validate, to give space to these conversations because of domestic violence. So I think even putting that term to the experience, labeling it for what it was, um, it just gives so much power to the many stories that are out there. And one thing I always say, and sometimes I'm like, maybe estoy exagerando, but like as the stories keep on coming, I'm like, no, I'm not exaggerating. Domestic violence in any of its aspects is deadly, right?
Yeah.
And I think like that's something so heavy and something that like our moms don't want to talk about, our tias don't want to talk about, but domestic violence does equal death in many cases, in too many cases. And so I think really having the space, by me sharing my story, other people that attended, both faculty and students, felt comfortable to share their experience. Maybe not everything, but parts of things, right? One thing that I think we all really like, one of our aha moments was that even if you did not experience domestic violence yourself, I bet you that someone in your circle has experienced it. So how scary is that, right? That it's just everywhere. And I haven't met someone that has had the quote unquote perfect life and has not experienced any kind of domestic abuse, between partners, between family members, siblings, parents. So, it's something so relevant to all of us. And I just think it's really radical for us to even have this conversation.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's deep. I mean, it's true. Like we forget that, people around us, they are affected somehow. Could be like family too, and it's hard to, wanting to help them, but if they don't want to get help,
Right.
that's the tough part.
Right, right. And I think there's so much that comes with that. So, I mean, I don't have the statistics handy right now, but um, the moment of someone leaving their abuser is actually the deadliest moment of the whole relationship. And it takes an average, I want to say, of about 10 times for a victim or survivor to leave the relationship. So in my case, I moved out. I went with my mom. I moved back in. I moved back out. It was like 3 or 4 times I think that I did that. Um, some people surpass that average, and other people don't, right? Or others don't make it out. So I think really contextualizing to understand even the processing of like the mind and the thinking process, right? That goes behind, if there's children, how do you even explain that to the kids? The kids know, right? Because they see it. Whether or not parents try to hide it, kids see it. And they're so in tune, and they feel the tensions, and they feel the energy of what's going on in their household. Um, but I think our job is really, or our responsibility as a community, physically or geographically, but also as like the Latino community, is really to share the fact that there's resources And so many people have made it out, and so why can't X person do it, right? Or the other person. Especially if we all link up together, you form what I mentioned earlier, your support team. And really, I think for children, like I always say, I have more than two kids, right? I have the whole community's children. So it really does take a village, not just for children, but for that parent support too. But
Yeah.
there's resources, and I think my main goal is always to share there's resources, and there's free resources, and there's attorneys that are pro bono, that really believe in just the beauty of life and will figure out ways to support. But everyone has their own journey, and it's really when people are ready for it.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. We have a saying. My aunt, she taught me this. Hay un dicho que dice que la costumbre es más fuerte que amor. I think that's what she said. That a custom is more stronger than love. You get accustomed to the same situation. It's crazy. It's a lot stronger than love. People think it's the other way around. That love is stronger, but if you're stuck to something for so long,
Right.
it becomes like almost part of kind of like
You're normal.
you're normal. Yeah, thank you, and you don't realize it,
Right.
and it's crazy. You get stuck. Going back to what you were saying, but yeah, it's really rough.
And um generational trauma, right? So if you grew up with that, that's what you know. And sometimes it's like we tend to self-sabotage too. So that's like one path, right? But the other path um, is really to decide, okay, you experienced this growing up between your parents or caregivers. I don't want that same thing to happen. And for me, I've always been very um like bold and put the red lipstick on, and like no one tells me what to do, right? So I've been very firm, and I feel like that's my personality. But I also fell into that cycle. And that's what it is. It's a cycle, right? I grew up with some sort of domestic violence at home too with my parents. And then my both my parents also, and their parents also, and so on. So it's like generations of trauma of domestic violence is gonna take hard work, real hard work, real like raw work, but it's really important. And so for us now, with my husband, like we have children. Life is more than just us two now. There's people that we're responsible for. So it's like, what childhood do we want to give them? So between him and I, we have an agreement that or actually between the households with our oldest, who's 10, when we all, like you mentioned, or I think you mentioned, we're a blended family. So we create rules together, right? Or guidelines. And so at home, we have a no yelling policy. And so, like we don't raise our voice, we speak respectfully to each other, we don't slam doors. It may still happen, but we're all learning, and we're all responsible for creating the energy in our home that we want. And just like that, um, with ongoing support from different resources and just workshops on how to be better parents, we learn how to stop these cycles to
Wow.
create years of healing. And
Yeah.
I think, it's possible. It's very possible.
Wow. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Well, look, guys, this is the Outlet to Reality, the holdest podcast in Vegas and Chicago every Tuesday. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Ching! Y'all know where to find me. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, the Outlet to Reality. My Snapchat, Take One Pass It, and my TikTok is at Yaakov28. And Michelle, where can my fans find you?
Thank you. Yes. So I am on social media. My full name is Michelle Ramirez, so you can just search me that way. I can probably post my Gmail, which is the easiest contact. The website will be ready mid-October, I think. So hopefully yeah, that should be good to go. I translated it myself. Available, for our moms and our tias and our Spanish-speaking community to also reach it.